linden flower gets treated like herbal background noise, tossed into sleep blends, sold in little sachets at health food stores next to the chamomile, and almost nobody talks about it seriously. That's a mistake, and it's a big one, because Tilia cordata, small-leaf linden, is one of the most pharmacologically sophisticated nervines in the entire Western herbal tradition. And the reason it's underestimated is exactly what I want to fix today. Here's the insight that most people miss. Linden doesn't just sedate you. It does something no other common nervine herb does. It simultaneously calms the nervous system and opens the capillaries at the skin's surface to push heat outward. That's a nervine and a diaphoretic acting together in the same cup of tea. That dual action is why it shows up in fever protocols, anxiety protocols, and cardiovascular protocols, and why understanding its energetics changes how you use it. Plus, and this is what the newer research is finally starting to catch up with, the flavonoid Tiliroside in linden flowers has documented interactions with GABA receptors, the same receptor system that benzodiazepines work on. That's not a small thing. Stay with me. Let's go deeper on the energetics first, because this is where everything else comes from. Tilia cordata is cool, sweet, slightly moist, and descending. Write that down. It matters more than any supplement fact panel. Cool means it's appropriate for hot, inflamed, or agitated states. The anxious person who can't stop their racing mind. The fever that won't break, the dry, irritated cough. It's not the herb for someone who's already cold and exhausted. And that's an important distinction we'll come back to in the mistakes section. Sweet and moist speaks to its affinity for the mucous membranes. The mucilage in linden soothes the respiratory tract, which is why it's excellent in dry, spasmodic coughs, the kind that feel like sandpaper in the throat. That mucilage also gently tones the gut wall. Descending means its energy moves downward and inward. It relaxes tension in the chest. It drops elevated blood pressure. It quiets mental activity that's risen too high. In traditional European and Galenic medicine, linden was specifically indicated for conditions of upward rising heat, like hot headaches, palpitations, the kind of anxiety that sits in the chest and throat rather than the belly. The organ affinity is heart, nervous system, and lungs. And when I say heart, I mean it both physiologically and in the old traditional sense. Linden was one of the primary heart herbs of European folk medicine, used for nervous palpitations and what older texts called weakness of the heart. Now the science. Linden flowers contain several classes of active constituents. The flavonoids, primarily Tiliroside, quercetin, camphor, and rutin, and a volatile oil fraction that includes farnesol, a sesquiterpene alcohol. There are also mucilages and tannins. Tiliroside is a camphoryl glycoside, and research, including animal studies published in journals like Phytomedicine, has shown it to have anxiolytic activity, likely through interaction with GABA-A receptors. Quercetin independently has well-documented anti-inflammatory and mild anxiolytic properties, shown in multiple models to reduce cortisol and anxiety-like behavior. Farnesol, the sesquiterpene, has demonstrated central nervous system depressant effects in animal studies. It likely contributes to the sedative quality that makes linden unique among nervines. It's more overtly calming than passion flower, but gentler in its sedation than valerian. It doesn't make you foggy. It just turns the volume down. And for the cardiovascular piece, the flavonoid fraction has genuine vasodilatory properties, which supports traditional use as a hypotensive herb for people with mild hypertension linked to stress and nervous tension. This combination of nervine and vasodilatory action is remarkably well suited. All right, now for the practical applications. How do you actually use this plant? For tea, the standard infusion is 2 to 3 grams of dried linden flowers and bracts. Yes, the bracts, the little leafy wings attached to the flower clusters. They're part of the medicine. Steeped in freshly boiled water for 10 minutes covered. And the covering matters because those volatile oils are what you're steeping for, and they evaporate quickly in an uncovered cup. So cover it and let it steep. For anxiety and nervous tension, 2 to 3 cups daily, ideally between meals. This isn't just for bedtime. Linden can be used as a daytime nervine because it relaxes without significantly sedating. That makes it appropriate for what I'd call high heat anxiety. The person who's wired, hot, a bit flushed, heart racing, mind spinning, versus something like valerian, which works better for cold, stagnant, dull anxiety. For cardiovascular support and mild hypertension, you want consistency over time. 3 cups daily, ideally combined with hawthorn berry. That combination deserves its own video, but briefly, hawthorn addresses the structural tone and circulation of the heart, while linden works on the nervous tension that's driving the elevated pressure. They're complementary at a deep level. For dry, irritable, spastic cough, 2 to 3 cups a day with a teaspoon of raw honey, stirred in after steeping. The mucilage coats the antispasmodic flavonoids, calm the bronchial reflex. The honey adds its own demulcent layer. Simple, but very effective. Now for the fever protocol. And this is where it gets interesting and where most people use it wrong. I'll explain the mistake in a minute. But for fever, a strong infusion, 2 to 3 grams in a cup, drunk hot, while the person is bundled up in bed. You want them warm externally, drinking warm linden internally. The diaphoretic action will promote sweating, which helps the body manage the fever more effectively. It's not suppressing the fever. It's supporting the body's own heat-clearing mechanism. And this is a traditional protocol with real physiological logic. Now, the one combination most people miss, linden and lemon balm. Both are cool, sweet nervines, heart affinitive herbs, but they work on slightly different pathways. Linden, primarily through its flavonoid and volatile oil actions on GABA receptors, lemon balm through rosmarinic acid and its inhibition of GABA transaminase, the enzyme that breaks down GABA. Together, they create a more sustained, fuller anxiolytic effect than either one alone. Use equal parts, 2 grams each, as a standard infusion. This is one of the best anxiety teas that you can make from plants. Now the tincture is also highly effective. 1 to 3 milliliters of a 1 to 5 tincture in 25% alcohol 3 times daily. Or look for standardized extracts. But for this herb specifically, a good fresh plant infusion often outperforms a poorly made tincture because the mucilage fraction is water-soluble and does not carry well in alcohol. Now let's talk about what most Linden videos get wrong, and there are a few things that genuinely bother me about how this herb is discussed online. Mistake number 1, treating it as universally appropriate for everyone with anxiety. Remember the energetics. Linden is cool if you have a person who's cold, pale, fatigued, with low energy and dull, heavy anxiety. Linden could make them feel worse. It's the wrong thermal energy for their pattern. This is why energetics matter more than lists of herbs for anxiety. The herb has to match the energetic picture of the person. Linden's for hot anxiety, not cold anxiety. Mistake number 2, using it only as a sleep herb. Every video says drink it before bed. Well, that's fine, but it undersells this plant enormously. Linden's anxiolytic action is gentle enough for daytime use. Its cardiovascular benefits require consistent daily use over weeks, not a single bedtime cup. Framing it as only a sleep herb means most people never discover 80% of what it can do. Mistake number 3, the fever protocol error. Most people drink Linden tea cold or room temperature during a fever because they've been told to cool down. Wrong approach. You want the diaphoretic action, which is triggered by drinking it hot and staying warm. Cold Linden tea during a fever does almost nothing useful. Hot Linden tea under a blanket is genuinely effective. The mechanism's important here. You are supporting the body's thermoregulatory intelligence, not opposing it. And then here's something that almost no one mentions. There's a documented potential interaction between large amounts of Linden and lithium. Because of Linden's mild diuretic effect, which can affect lithium clearance. Now, this isn't a reason to panic, and normal therapeutic amounts of tea are very unlikely to cause issues. But for anyone on lithium therapy, it's worth knowing and worth discussing with their prescribing physician. It's a real consideration that the just drink some Linden tea content never addresses. Also, freshness matters enormously with this herb. Old, pale, flavorless Linden that's been sitting in a bag for 2 years will do almost nothing. The volatile oil fraction degrades quickly. You want Linden that still has that characteristic sweet, honey-like aroma when you open the bag. No aroma means no medicine from the volatile fraction. Now let's bring this together with the 3 things I want you to walk away remembering. Number 1, Linden's energetics drive its uses. Cool, sweet, moist, descending. It's for hot, tense, agitated conditions, anxious heat, fever, hypertension with nervous tension. Use it with that filter and it becomes a precision tool, not just a generic calming tea. Number 2, the dual nervine diaphoretic action is what makes it unique. No other common nervine breaks fevers. Understanding that dual action and using it correctly with hot tea and warmth is the difference between results and nothing. Then number 3, the cardiovascular angle is real. It's supported by its flavonoid chemistry, and it's consistently overlooked. Linden plus hawthorn is one of the most underused combinations in Western herbalism for stress-driven hypertension. If you know someone dealing with that pattern, that protocol's worth exploring with a qualified practitioner. Now, if this video changed how you think about Linden, share it with someone who just sees it as a sleepy bedtime tea. They deserve to know what it can actually do. And if you'd like to know more about Linden, including the various species, and especially those that grow here in Arkansas, do become a member of the Ultimate Herbal Database.